So just imagine for a second taking two absolute icons of luxury. We're talking Saks Fifth Avenue and Neiman Marcus, and merging them into this single global fashion empire. I mean, the vision was massive, but that empire, it totally crumbled. Let's dig into how.
Because really, at the heart of this entire collapse is one very, very expensive question. What happens when your spreadsheets are telling you that you have 30 million luxury customers, but your strategy shows you don't actually understand what a single one of them really wants?
And this is the core disconnect right here. You've got leadership boasting about a $9 billion business, a next-gen model, while on the ground, the reality for shoppers was Chapter 11 bankruptcy and just completely eroding trust. So how on earth did the promise and the reality get so far apart? Well, it all started with what you could call a billion-dollar misunderstanding. The strategy was basically to apply a discount retailer's playbook, think TJ Maxx, to the super exclusive world of high fashion. This, right here, was the original sin. And to really see why that was such a complete disaster, we have to get our heads around the fact that there are two fundamentally different types of shoppers at play here. And the leadership, they seem to think they were one and the same.
So on one side, you've got the discount shopper. They're like a hunter, right? They're seeking a deal, they're hunting for bargains, and they're totally fine with a little bit of chaos to find it. But the luxury shopper, they want an escape. It's a form of retail therapy. They're not just paying for a product, they're paying for a serene, curated space, a floating world away from it all. Totally different psychologies.
And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? Choreographed hospitality versus opportunistic commerce. See, one is all about creating this seamless, elegant experience. The other is about moving a ton of product fast. And you cannot treat those two worlds the same way.
This fundamental misunderstanding basically started a war inside the company between two totally competing mindsets, the real estate developer versus the luxury merchant.
The developer's mind is all about the numbers, leverage, debt, how much they can squeeze vendors for better terms. But a true merchant, they think in emotions. They're obsessed with customer psychology, with brand reverence, with building real long-term relationships with designers. I mean, these approaches are polar opposites.
And this wasn't some hidden secret. The leader's own words from 2017 reveal absolutely everything. Being a retailer, that is too tough. It's a place where we can make a lot of money. The focus was never, ever on the art of retail. It was always about the math of real estate.
Okay, so now let's see how this developer-first, customer-last kind of thinking translated into the digital world, which is exactly where the company placed this massive bet on its future. So back in 2021, the public message was just pure optimism. Leadership was out there declaring they were redefining the luxury shopping ecosystem. They were completely convinced that luxury e-commerce was about to explode, and they were going to be right at the center of it all.
But here's what their customers were actually saying. And look, these ratings are they're abysmal. A 1.2 out of 5 for Saks, a 1.1 for Neiman Marcus. Even Bergdorf Goodman, the absolute crown jewel of American luxury, was only at a 1.5. For brands that built their entire reputation on impeccable service, numbers like these are a complete and total catastrophe.
And these aren't just abstract numbers, They represent thousands of horror stories just like this one. Can you imagine trying to buy a luxury handbag and being sent the wrong one, not once, not twice, but 3 times? This wasn't just some glitch. It was a clear sign of a system that was fundamentally broken from the inside out.
And yet, while all of this was happening, leadership was out there bragging about its data prowess. They claimed to be tracking every single move of 30 million luxury consumers. They had the data points, they had the clicks, the visits, they had the numbers.
But here's the crucial point. Their data could show that a customer logged in, but it couldn't tell you why. Were they there to buy something new, or were they just chasing a missing refund? That data could never measure the pure frustration of a broken returns process. And all the data in the world couldn't capture that invisible moment when a customer just decides, you know what, I'm done with this.
And this brings us right to the core of what the leadership, with their laser focus on real estate and big data, never truly got. The invisible, human work that makes luxury retail actually, work.
It's a practice called clienteling. And this isn't just about selling a dress, it's about building a real, long-term relationship. It's about a sales associate knowing a client's taste so well, they can just pick up the phone and say, hey, the new low-A bags just arrived, and I've put one aside that I think you'll absolutely love. This is where the real money is made in luxury.
And this is that choreographed hospitality we were talking about earlier.
It's like a delicate dance, right? You have to observe without being intrusive. You have to know the exact right moment to step in and help. And that requires empowering your staff with the right training and the right tech. It's all built on a foundation of trust.
But instead of nurturing this, Saks Global's leadership did the exact opposite. They actually split the e-commerce business from the physical stores, creating two separate competing entities. This basically forced the online and in-store teams to fight with each other, all at the expense of the one person who really mattered, the customer just trying to have a good experience.
So, okay, after all the complex financial maneuvering and all the big talk about digital transformation, what's the simplest, clearest reason for why this massive empire failed?
Well, luxury retail consultant Peter Smith put it pretty bluntly. This wasn't about Amazon, it wasn't about the decline of the department store. At its very core, they failed because they just forgot how to be good at the fundamental business they were supposed to be in.
And that really is the bottom line, isn't it? The simplest explanation is usually the right one. They had all the brands, all the real estate, all the data you could ever want, but they completely forgot about the people they were supposed to be serving.
And that leaves us with one final big question to think about. In our modern world, which is just so full of big data and complex financial engineering, the story of Saks Global is a powerful billion-dollar reminder to ask ourselves, how much is that simple, human relationship with a customer truly worth?